This is our first episode of Over the Kitchen Table. And as I discussed, this is a part of the well worshiping and wellness ministry at Payne Chapel. And so I have today here with me right now is my mother, Dr. Sharon Massingale, who is a member of Washington Chapel AME Church in Tuskegee, Alabama. And the reason why she is here is because the
I'm
topic,
your mama.
yes, she's my mom, but also the topic, if y'all don't remember from last year, and it doesn't change year to year, Thanksgiving is Thanksgiving Day, which is November 26th this year, is National Family Health History Month. Family Health History Day, excuse me. So, being that we're in the middle of this pandemic, Thanksgiving is going to look different for a lot of families. So it's even more appropriate that my mom and I are actually doing this virtual uh, conversation, because that's probably going to be the best way people to experience social distancing. And it's really good because my mom, if y'all don't know, she is the lab director for the Alabama Department of Public Health. And so she's been doing this every day since the pandemic has started. So we're not using her for her expertise, but just for this subject matter. But if she wants to throw a little bit extra in there, um, you know, that's fine with me. So, you ready, Mama?
I guess I don't know what to expect, but we'll see.
Okay. So, as you know, the Thanksgiving is going to look different for us and our family, not only because of the pandemic, but because we have lost my grandma. And I always joke about grandma, and I always say grandma at this point, and she knows I said this, so it's with full disclaimer. Grandma didn't have everything except AIDS, HIV, because my grandma had everything, and has
Mhm.
heard me verbally say that. So I don't think she would come and get me. Uh, uh, so kind of even starting with her, and we've lost my mom's father and my other grandfather, and my father. So there are a lot of different health issues that are in the family, and as I discussed with the wellness check for this past week, November has a lot of different awareness months: pancreatic cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, COPD, lung cancer. So it's a whole lot of things in here. So it is the perfect time. Thanksgiving is the perfect time, even if you're doing this virtually, to talk about these health issues. So, Mama, I know, with you and being the oldest of your siblings and me being the oldest of all of the grandchildren, we are starting to have these conversations about what to get checked out. With me being in my 30s, they're starting the onset of some of the issues that y'all are starting to experience. So, what kind of things that we should be looking for as y'all are discussing in y'all siblinghood, and we're starting to discuss in our child, among the grandchildren.
Well, this is something that I guess I can go through the list because I just got a new doctor since my doctor retired. So I had to give the family health history, and it was just shocking at the maternal and paternal things that are in our line and even among us laterally as siblings. But hypertension is something that is across daddy, mama, grandma, grandlada. So that's something that is inherent. Uh, Cardiovascular disease, that's what mom eventually succumbed to a stroke, a massive stroke. But diabetes is something that is not on daddy's side, but is on my mama's side and your daddy. I
Oh
think
yeah.
every single one of them, all of their siblings, have diabetes, and so and we I'm just very fortunate that I've not had diabetes, but I had gestational diabetes with both pregnancies, with one, with you and with Sherman. So I'm always trying to be careful with that. But obesity is in our family,
Yeah.
which also exacerbates um, illnesses
Yeah.
that are inherent in our family tree.
Yeah.
So, in renal disease
Oh,
is something that's new that showed up in our family. Uh, you know, uh, Arthritis, even though it's also a chronic illness that can creep up on and it cause impairment, and that has been from daddy's side of the family, and I think most of all of us children have had a touch of that. Even those who are healthy, like your Uncle Nikki, and runs a lot, but it's still the joints
yeah.
are issues. And Danny, and
Yeah.
they're the two smallest of the siblings, but they still have some of those illness. So all of it is not inherent in obesity, but that does not keep it from being an issue. And even being overweight, if you're healthy and exercising, that's most important. If you go and get your checkups and make sure your numbers look good. Some of us experience cholesterol issues as well. I've been stayed away from that, even though my number is high. One something that's good is that your HDL and your LDL numbers are recount, and my HDL, which is the good uh, um, um, measurement, is always so high. It skews my overall numbers. So I try to eat healthy. Exercise is something that I want to do, but don't get a chance to do it as much.
And so I'm thinking about that in the conversation that we had before a couple of days ago about, you were saying, um, like what you're going to do differently because you don't think you would be here for 30 more years. Like our great grandma, my mom's mom died when she was 98, and nobody, not her son didn't live that long because he'd had the cardiovascular issue. And nobody has reached that age of longevity yet. And she pretty much didn't have anything. And like as I'm looking, because I am the oldest, I have experienced all of these different facets with my great grandparents and my grandparents. So like watching them grow in age, and even what my mom and you and daddy, and like how stress affects a lot of things, because I know that's kind of your thing. With me just turning 35, is like all these amount of issues just started to come. And even I know a lot of people don't know this, like what was it, like 2024, when did I have my surgery? 24, 26?
I don't remember.
I don't remember. A couple of years ago.
Life has just been moving so
Yeah,
fast.
so fast. Yeah. I don't know how I was like mid to late 20s. I actually had a gynecological issue where I've had to have surgery, and it was really major because, I haven't had kids yet. And, I was just like, where did this come from? And then go talk to my grandma, and she experienced the same thing. But it was interesting because by the time she was my age, she already had 6 of her 8 kids. And then after she had all of her kids, she had a hysterectomy. So she didn't have some of those same issues. And like, even with you, I want to give into your information, but like that was even different, having hysterectomy and you going through all of your gynecological issues. So I would sit here and I think about, like,
Yeah, I was in my 50s when I experienced all of that.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, and I do remember the first thing you asked after surgery, you asked for my hand and you said, "Can I still have children?"
Yeah, so like all of these different things, like you don't think about. I have one cousin who has gotten another one of grandma's things, is actually both of her grandmothers have it, thyroid issues. So that's something we always having to think about. So moving on to this next phase of our lives, like, you know, with you being in your 60s or early 60s and me being in my early mid 30s, like, what are we going to do differently that our parents, you know, not what I've seen for you, but also my grandparents and my great grandparents, and what, you know, what I can do differently, because my stress and how I internalize things, because I am very many versions of you and daddy, how to do differently to help my health to not have these issues.
Well, see, I still haven't gotten it right. Every time I think I get it right, stress is the culprit.
Yeah.
Because I've had two successful weight losses, and on
Mm-hmm.
those weight losses, all of my numbers were excellent. They were quite excellent, and I know that's what happened. And I said, okay, I've learned how now to deal with this. I've learned how to deal with this. Then always something seems to come up that's a little different that catches me off guard, and it throws me off my exercise pattern. It throws me off my eating pattern. I've learned that you don't, even though I've counted points at Weight Watchers and I'm a lifetime member of Weight Watchers, I have done it on my own with your dad. We just watch what we ate. I went years and years and I didn't drink a soda.
Yep.
But when your daddy
You
had
have
cancer,
none.
all he wanted to have was orange sun kiss. And it was kind of like that was something we shared. And it's been very difficult to stop drinking sodas since
Yeah.
then. But I'm
Yeah.
doing much better right now. I'm doing the diet sodas. Uh, just trying to do a little bit better of clean eating. And I had just started my exercise program and then, mama got sick. We went on our vacation
Mm-hmm.
walking and we were watching what we were eating, except when you were drinking those tequilas. But we were doing really well and watching what we ate when we went to dinner at night. And then mama got sick. I was even walking in the hospital with her. But then COVID hit that week. We
Mm-hmm.
started testing for COVID, and the Monday after her funeral, that's what I was doing 12 and 14 hours, no exercise. And then, we moved into a new building. And
Mm-hmm.
while we were moving, I really started by walking and exercising during that period. And now I'm doing just a little bit better. I'm trying to get in my groove again. And it is just that knowing, like, that was one something that, talking to the doctor, he says, my goodness, I can't believe you're not in a deep degree of depression. He says, but you're bouncing back and you know what you need to do. So just do it. And if you need my help, just let me know. And I'm a member of the Wellness Coalition uh, right now, and that's been helpful. And it's for people with pre-diabetes. And so I've completed 2 years. And of those 2 years, people might not know, but I've lost maybe 24 pounds. Well, you and Sherman and
Yeah.
some other people said that you all could tell from my 60th birthday.
Yeah.
So the goal is just to do 5 to 10% a year. And that's what I've done. And focus on, so the first 6 months, you wanted to reach that goal, and the next 6 months, you maintain it. And that's what we're completing the second year, and I start the third year, and it was a 5-year grant program. But it's just to try to teach you how to keep from getting that A1C over 77, to keep it below that, and to eat healthy and to exercise. So you have to learn the tricks with eating. We've always modified our food. We've tried to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Portion control is very important. Um, like grandmama used to eat, but when you notice what grandmama always just used to eat
It's vegetables.
greens and vegetables from her garden. And that was one thing that I advocated, that when I was doing well, I was, the organic eating. Well, I said that's what we did growing up in the country. The only thing that people used to do is cook it in a lot of grease and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if you look too, is that if the proportion, I'm just gonna say, of what you're eating, and if it's not uh, cooked too badly, you're still on top.
Yeah.
Uh, but we have fast foods and additives and
Mm-hmm.
sweeteners and all of those things. My last doctor had asked me to try this program, Go Low, and that's one of the things it advocates is staying away from the sweeteners, staying away from anything artificial, like any other nutritionist would be. Shop around the corners of the stores to get the fresh fruit, the fresh vegetables, the organics if you can, more of a clean eating, but it's not as strict as that. And just to eat at intervals, equal intervals, so to make sure you're having breakfast. I hate breakfast because I'm always was trying to get y'all ready or get ready for work. I love breakfast, but I hate taking the time to do it. But that's one thing that's very, very important, is to eat your breakfast.
And I think that's where the difference with, even when I think about, y'all's lives, y'all's generation of lives, and to my generation of lives, like, it's the busyness, everything, and the quick things. Because I always say, growing up, whatever meal lifestyle change you were on, we kind of inherited.
Mm-hmm.
And so that also makes an impact on, how I eat. So, there are days where I do want my comfort food from my grandparents, and that's typically on a Sunday because that's why I'm traditionally used to have it. But more than likely, like we were just talking about the other day, like, I was like, I don't even know last time I had fried chicken because I just don't cook like
We don't cook like that, right?
I don't drink sodas. Yeah, that was some.
But actually, when you were
Another
growing
thing,
up,
Mama and Daddy started behaving badly after they had kids, like we got out of the house. So I guess they must was having freedom because we didn't eat like that. And really, truly, when I was in high school and middle school, well, when Mama was working on her PhD, I was the cook of
you
that.
would cook, right?
So
And because before then, we had our basic things to eat.
Yeah.
And the only thing that we fried then were chicken wings.
And
then we stopped doing that.
Yeah.
And
you did
even with Sherman, he didn't even know I knew how to fry food. One
Yeah.
day it was like he was in high school or something, and the lights were out, and I fried some pork chops. And he
That's
said,
his favorite.
yes, that's why I did it. I think Kel was over it. And he said, I didn't even know you knew how to fry food because we didn't. Remember, we got the George Foreman,
Yes,
and we
Daddy's
did
favorite thing. Daddy
everything was on the George Foreman, and it was good. Most people don't like grilled fish, but you all ate grilled fish, no problems. Skim milk, if you all drink milk that's not skim milk, you thought something was wrong with it.
And that's still to this day.
You say, dude, there's something's wrong. And then other people come in our refrigerator and drink our milk and think something is wrong with it. I mean, there were just things that practices that we utilize in our family, and even your friends who came along, if there was an issue, they never mention it because they ate and seemed to enjoy what we ate. Even like when I remember in your college years, or after you brought over some of your friends from high school, and you remember we had the chili, and both of those recipes were from my Weight Watchers book. And nobody ever, they loved it. The cornbread, the Mexican cornbread, was a low fat, low version, and it was delicious. So we always try to do those things. And for maybe that, I would think that was during one of those 5 or 7 years where I had monitored my weight. When grandma passed away and when daddy passed away, I was a good size 14. And that was the last time, because having their deaths back to back really threw me off. And then your dad got sick, and life has just been coming like fastballs. So it is kind of like, from a spiritual perspective, you say I got it, and Satan, but I'm not gonna give that victory to Satan because I'm going back up to the bat and I'm gonna swing again.
And that's where I think, as we wrap this up, like, I think that's really important, about, even for me, like, taking those times and those moments, because we have had like that affected me and how my weight fluctuations. And it's so funny because as I was going really intently, after days after grandma's funeral and going through her pictures and as that looking at those pictures had pictures of y'all and daddy, and then looking at pictures of my dad's side family, like I was sitting there like, oh well, weight is gonna be an issue. All of the women in my family have had fluctuations with weight, so weight is going to be an issue my whole life. But how can I do this differently? How can I not get high blood pressure? I think, we know my nemesis is sweets, but I do decide to don't bake because I do bake a lot of stuff. So that's, I don't buy a lot of prepackaged foods. I pretty much make everything. So that is my barrier to do it. And if I do it, which gets on everybody's nerves, I will make a whole thing of batter of cookies, but only eat like two because I only bake two, and put the rest in the freezer. I know that sounds crazy. That's how I have to do portion control because I do have some of my daddy in me, and I eat what I want when I want it. But then I may go work out or I may go do something, and it's interesting how Mama said sneaking different foods. So like I do make a lot of pastas. Another one, but I do.
Carbs is your downfall.
And
always you and Sherman love bread, so
yeah, but I don't eat bread. I don't eat bread though. I stopped doing bread in college when I had no money. So that's one of the things I don't buy no more anymore. But I do buy pastas because that's cheaper to buy. But I buy whole wheat pastas, veggie pastas. I do the spaghetti pastas. And it's very interesting because if I make macaroni and cheese for a family, we're going to have either whole wheat pasta, and then people don't know that they having whole wheat pasta because it look a little different, got enough cheese on it so you can't tell. But even my niece, Melanie, loves all the pastas I make, but it's like it's full of veggies anyway, what I add into it, but it's also veggie noodles. So, and she does not know any different. And quite honestly, I accidentally bought some regular white noodles. The white noodles, and I was just like, something about this tastes off because I'm so used to having like the whole grain or the green noodles. So I'm glad that you have introduced, of course you introduced a whole set of different foods that grandma never didn't make, because I would never eat any of their spaghettis or anything. I couldn't say that. But but at the same point, introducing how to retool foods that, you can have a healthier experience and healthier lives. And that's kind of how I do stuff. I just don't tell people till later on that, oh yeah, I just had like extra stuff, but
I don't even know how that started. I guess because I suffer a lot from acid reflux, and so I would try to figure out how to do things better. And then I figured out that, hey, one problem is all of that grease. So I tried to figure that out. And I never really had a health issue until my pregnancy. And when I became pregnant with you, blood pressure went toxemia and everything went crazy. And actually, and that's when weight started. It didn't go away. I gained a lot of weight with both pregnancies, like double digits, like 70 pounds with you and 90 with Sherman. And most of it stayed after you all were born. And the doctor has explained that was hereditary as well. That happens with some people, and some people, the hormones, the female hormones, was trying to, and way back in the early times of times when it was like to keep you warm so that you can be able to take care of your children. So that's this. So it's been a battle for me. I guess not quite half, because I was in my 30s when I had you, so you're mid-30s now. So it's been that long. 31, 32.
No, you were 32 when you had
I'm sorry. That was Sherman. I was 26, 27 when I had you. Right? Yeah. Still young, I guess, or not.
Yeah. Unlike what I would have considering now this considered geriatric pregnancy after
Mm. Well, more people are doing it now than they were during my
30.
time.
Just not gonna die having a kid. But this has been very insightful. And as I said earlier, you know, even if it's not Thanksgiving holiday or any of the holidays, they, you know, they just generally say that because that's the time when people are around their family and friends and loved ones. But
And that would be a good time to have those kinds of conversations when you're sitting around and you're
yeah,
watching the football games or
yeah,
something, because there's familiar time and time when you're enjoying it, and especially reminiscing over members who are not there. And if you're talking about illnesses and things from the family, and you treat it as a time for being concerned about each other,
each other.
because you know our tables are getting smaller and smaller, uh, as we're getting older and older. And that
I
was
like
my
that.
reality for you the other day. It hit me driving to work that, gosh, you probably won't. I was thinking about Sherman is going to be 30, and I says, gosh, I probably won't be around for another 30 years. And his 30 years went fast. And I says, wow. So, you know, like Herman used to say sometimes, is it worth getting healthy because you're going to die either way? But it is important to be healthy because we're a temple. We're God's temple for the Holy Spirit.
Yep.
And you know, I always say that, and then I just say, "Hey, God, I'm grieving the Holy Spirit so much with me not doing what I know is the right thing to do." So we want to honor God with our bodies. We often think of sexual sins and abusive things like drugs and that sort of thing, but it's also in our eating, our mental health, and our physical health. We should also try to do our best in those so that we can guard our bodies, which are the temples. These are the bodies He's given us here on this earth. And in order for us to go and fulfill the Great Commission to win other souls for Christ, we need to be on our best health to do that. And if we're aching all the time and complaining all the time about ailments and illnesses and things like that, we can't effectively be winners for souls for Christ. We can't be as effective as we probably could be. I can't say that we will not be able to, but we probably won't be as effective because we're going to be too tired. We're going to be too sick.
Yeah, I agree. So that was actually the perfect email because that's how I usually have my that's one of the scriptures I use on our wellness checks. So
Oh,
that is perfect. Anything else, Mama, you want to share with us?
be safe. You know, we that's the thing we just talked about earlier. Be safe when we do go home to our families. If we've been around other people and if we're gonna go home, make sure you're washing your hands, wearing your mask, even when you're eating. You don't have to eat at the table, sit in the chairs. You know, we do that anyway. Take your plates and try to sit 6 feet from each other. Got to pull your mask off. You got to sneeze, cough, or whatever. Just leave the room. Have your Lysol out. Spray the Lysol out, because the numbers are going up, and we don't want. I don't want to be testing them in my space. Uh, Extras tests, but we also want to make sure that people are safe because folks are dying. And, you know, I
Yep.
just told you of a woman who was close friend and from church, and she was tending her own business, and one of the coworkers decided to go out to a nightclub and was an asymptomatic carrier, and they had her funeral yesterday for the other woman, because she had underlying conditions. She was in her 70s and had diabetes. So the young people going around older people is very that dynamics is something you need to pay a close attention to. And I don't think, you know, when you're carefree and being young and trying to have your fun, you don't want to be the one to cause your grandma or your great grandma or your mama to have to go to the hospital for COVID, and most certainly to die from COVID because you had to go to the bar.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think those, like I said, that's really important. And you know, like especially our family, we are a very affectionate family. Like we can all be crammed on that little chair about 7 people. Somebody sitting on somebody's lap touching everybody. So it's probably, this is hard also because, on one time with grandma passing, but also because we were such an affectionate and close-knit family, and not being together during the holidays, and it's going to be different. And, we really do miss each other. So, we want everybody to be safe out there. And, your kitchen table may look different this year, but we all, like Mama said, this is the only body we get. This is the only thing that we can do God's purpose for. And we have to respect this temple, wherever your life is going to be. You want to live it whole and you want to live it well. So until next time, bye.
Bye-bye.